Hey, my name's Shovel, the name of the channel is Shovel, and in this video we're going to talk about my favorite upgrades for the humble Jeep Patriot. I did make a video kind of similar to this a couple of years ago, but I was never really happy with how that turned out, so I'm kind of remaking it and making it better. So I hope you'll enjoy watching this if you have a Patriot and you're wondering what exactly you can do with these things. Let's take a look. Let's start with the most obvious thing, the wheels and tires. These wheels came off of a 1993 Jeep Grand Cherokee and they fit perfectly on there. I did need to get some hub-centric rings because the inside bore of these is like 71 something millimeters and the outside bore of the hub on these is like 67 millimeters. These are 235 75R15 tires and these are made by Kumho. But of course you could just go along with anything you'd want to do if you're modifying your Jeep Patriot. I just think this was a great fit on this guy here with no real effort. They pretty much just went on. Up next are these tow hooks. Now these were a factory option if you got the Freedom Drive 2, whatever off-road trail rated version of this Jeep. However, these were not installed on like 95% of the ones people actually bought. But you can install them on any trim level, including the two-wheel drive ones. These are actual recovery rated hooks, so that means I can pull on them and not worry about them breaking off or ripping part of the Jeep out with them or anything else like that. And I painted them gold to match the color of the wheels because I just thought I'm going to be extra. While we're up here, I got these driving lights that I mounted on this bracket here. It's a nice clean install, and these guys are wired a little bit differently than what you probably have seen on a lot of driving lights, because most of the time when you add auxiliary lights to a car, you have to then run a wire into the cab, and you have to put an extra switch somewhere, which I think is kind of unsightly, so I got around doing that. The factory arrangement for this switch is that you can turn it forward to turn on the low beam headlights, and then you can pull it straight out, and that turns on the fog lights. Then when you rock it forward, that turns on the high beams, but it turns off the fog lights. So I used a piece of software called JScan, which allows you to change adaptations to the vehicle in order to make it so that the high beams and the fog lights are able to be on at the same time. Then I set up a pair of relays so that when both the high beams and the fogs are on at the same time, the driving lights also turn on, which means that if I have all of the brightest stuff turned on and then there's approaching traffic, I can just use one quick motion to drop the high beams and the driving lights off, be polite to oncoming traffic, and then once the traffic is passed, I could just use one motion and flip it back on again, and there's no additional switches or wires run inside the cabin. The wiring to make that happen is just two relays arranged in a logic AND gate. If you know how to do electrical wiring, you should find that pretty easy. If you don't know how to do that, here's an opportunity to learn something new. Another feature that was included in the trail-rated versions of these Jeeps is real metal skid plates. These aren't the plastic splash guards that came on all the other versions. These are made out of steel. They are significantly strong. They will support the weight of the vehicle. And on mine, the front corners here get bashed up pretty often when I take it camping. So I have to take these guys and repaint them just to avoid any kind of rust. But these things are real nice to have to protect your engine and transmission from the odd rock and other debris off-road, or anything that might be hiding in the snow if you're driving in winter. All right, I'm going to throw a lot of S's at you right now. A second set of steel skid plates were also included with the trail-rated version, and of course you can install those on any four-wheel drive Jeep Patriot, but you can't install them on the two-wheel drive Patriot because the two-wheel drive had a different gas tank. I think that's a great upgrade if you're going to be driving one of these off pavement. It's cheap insurance in my book. Another feature of the trail-rated Jeep Patriot that you can add to any 4x4 is these lower control arms right here. They're gusseted front to back, and they also have different bushings that are a little bit more firm than the standard ones. So they'll give you slightly sportier handling, and since they're gusseted front to back, if they get hung up on a root or a rock while you're dragging this thing across the ground off-road, they're less likely to get folded in on themselves, so you'll be more likely to get home. And the last upgrade on this underbody tour is a trailer hitch. This cost about $120 on Amazon. It took half an hour to install, and I don't actually intend to pull a trailer with it, but I still am glad I got it. The trailer hitch supplies a secure place to attach a chain if I need to tow or be towed, because there is nothing else underneath this vehicle that's rated to actually take that kind of load. This is the only thing available back here. If you got the trail-rated version, there was a tow hook right there, but there's nothing behind this to attach a tow hook to on the non-trail-rated versions. So this is really your only choice if you need to get a recovery pull. Even if you just want to use your Jeep to pull some old bushes out or something like that, it makes it easy. And it's just a handy place to carry mountain bikes. One more thing I'd like to share with you back here is that little guy right there. That's a backup camera. That's not a factory part. That's an aftermarket one that I stuck on this vehicle, and I connected that to an aftermarket radio. So let's look inside. I guess this is what it would be like if you had like a 10-inch suspension lift or something on one of these. Here in the dashboard, I've just installed a regular 2-DIN sized radio so it's able to display the backup camera nice and clear. And because it's relatively modern, it features CarPlay and Android Auto. And I installed a USB port right around the side here so I can plug in my USB cable for Android Auto. Another kind of different feature I went with here is how I handle the microphone on the aftermarket radio, because most aftermarket radios that include Bluetooth, they also have a microphone that's on the end of a little wire, and you have to clip that up somewhere up here or wherever, and it always looks out of place and janky if you ask me. I just don't think it's super elegant looking, so I decided to tap into the factory Uconnect microphones, because the aftermarket radio, of course, doesn't work with Uconnect anyways, but the microphones are still there. They're right here. Those are two microphones, and they're wired in to a voice module down there in the passenger side footwell. There are a pair of wires behind the radio that come from the voice module, but they don't contain microphone information, so you can't just tap into them directly. Inside that A-pillar right there, there's a place where you can tap into the wires that come up along here and go down into the mirror. And so that's the appropriate place to tap into the microphone wires. And then you can use the factory microphones, which are nice and cleanly integrated and don't make any extra clutter, to work with Android Auto. Taco Bell.
There's a Taco Bell.
This car only came with 4 speakers from the factory, 2 in the front doors and then 2 in the back doors, and that's not exactly ideal for clarity. High frequency sound likes to travel in line of sight, so it doesn't just get around obstructions, which means that my legs are blocking the high frequency sound for the passenger, and of course if I have a passenger, their legs are blocking the high frequency sound from that speaker to get to my ears up here in the driver's seat. So to correct that, most cars with better stereo systems have tweeters mounted up high. Well, this car didn't come with any from the factory, so I included a set of components up front. And the nice thing with that is I actually was able to use some very affordable components to do this. Not just to save money, but also physically to fit. These sail panels are relatively small and they're not all hollow back there, so I couldn't use larger tweeters. I had to find a set that had physically very small tweeters, and so this Terminator set from MTX happens to be their most affordable set. They sound excellent, and the tweeter is physically very small, so it fits nice and clean up here. It looks like it came from the factory. Now, the factory upgraded sound system actually came with tweeters mounted in the dash up here, and hypothetically, I could have put big tweeters up inside there, but because the speaker wiring already is run into the door for the door woofers, that would have meant I had to run another wire back out of the door and up into here if I wanted to work with that, and I just didn't want to do all that extra crap when this works exactly as well and was extremely affordable. In back, I just got the matching set of 6x9s from MTX, and yeah, they show up in there if I shine a bright light in here, but you don't normally see them. It's kind of weird that Jeep decided to put an oval speaker behind a round grille, but that's just the way they built it, and this is the factory size. They were also very affordable. They sound great and make a lot of bass. Another modification that kind of so essentially blends in with the vehicle that I almost forgot to talk about it is these auto vent shades right here. But they're essential if you live somewhere hot and you want to leave the windows just open a crack so that the hot air can escape from the vehicle and you don't come back to a super hot car. Or if you live someplace like I live in the Northwest where there's rain once in a while and I want to be able to leave the windows open a crack so the inside of the car doesn't get all musty and gross, but I still don't get rain falling inside the car. And I think they're practically an essential modification for one of these Jeeps, no matter what you do with it. One last upgrade that's kind of hard to show you is I've added the oil cooler that was factory equipped when you got the tow package on your Jeep Patriot. And yeah, there's not much to look at here. It just consists of a new couple of radiator hoses, which I was replacing anyways because they're like almost 10 years old and I was doing a coolant flush. And so these additional radiator hoses have a bypass that goes to a sandwich adapter down at the oil filter. And that just runs the engine oil through a wet to wet heat exchanger to make sure that the engine oil and the water temperature are the same temperature as each other or as close as possible. Admittedly, that's probably overkill, but it's something I was bundling into routine maintenance I was doing anyways. So the cost on top of the routine maintenance was really insignificant. And it's just a little extra peace of mind just to make the Jeep work as well as it possibly can. So hopefully you've enjoyed seeing this bunch of mods, and hopefully if you watched the previous Jeep Patriot mods video, you can tell that I did a little bit better job on this one. If you think I did, leave a comment down below. If you think I was better before, leave a comment on that too. Thanks for watching.